Well, who have we got in the studio now? It's all systems go.
It is, yes, it's a rough journey. We have Andrew from Navigators of Faith with us. Good evening, Andrew.
Yeah, good evening, thanks for having me.
Andrew, good evening, and you're here with Navigators of Faith. Tell us about Navigators of Faith. What's the origins of the Navigators of Faith? Is that something new?
Well, the story starts with a chap called Harold Worsley, who's a missiologist and vice principal at Trinity College. And I ended up doing a diploma in theology and mission at Trinity over 4 years. And Howard and I became friends, partly because he had a picture of Shackleton's endurance voyage with the James Card on his wall, and how we could, just look at what was happening in society, what we see as the lost story of who we are, what makes us a Christian country. And in that discussion we started looking at the roots of Christian Britain and where it came from. And I think a lot of that started, or we think a lot of that started with the collapse and the retreat of the Roman Empire, which is around 380 AD, 410 AD. And then there's a loss of the narrative, the loss of the story, and a collapse of the corporate church. Obviously it goes with Rome after Constantine started it. And then you have these peregrine falcons, these peregrini, flying over the country, people that we've heard of like Patrick and David, and they come out and they start re-evangelising the UK, and they do that over hundreds of years. But there's 30,000 of these monks taking the gospel message out. And so what we decided to do is we thought, well, okay, we've got places like Padstow, there's St Petrock in Padstow, where there's a clear and obvious link to where that community's come from. And so we'd seek out these places where the Celtic saints had been around the coast, and we would undertake a missional voyage as near as we possibly could, with a little bit of health and safety, and seek out those stories and really see where the Spirit took it, but very much with a view of spreading the gospel of Christ, and dropping a pebble in the lake of the UK and seeing where the ripples occur. Okay,
so you sort of answered my next question, which what is the plan and why? So you talked about that. How can people follow kind of what's going on? I mean, and when is this trip happening? So obviously you indicated it is boats. Now we know that.
So the plan is Bishop Worsley, who's just turns out to be Harold's wife, is the Bishop of Taunton, and so she is, and I'm assuming Bristol Diocese are sending us out from Bristol on Ascension Day next year, which is the 10th of May. And we're then going to sail as near as we can to a fixed agenda around the coast, and people should take note of that if they want to get involved, because there is a modicum of risk. The weather conditions, unless they're particularly difficult, won't be stopping us undertaking the voyage. We will be trying to encourage people on board who are not sailors. We would like men and women to be involved. People do not have to have a faith background to be involved. And a lot of that will be, we have discussions on board Lutherans style table talks about Christian issues and the way society interfaces with Christianity, or Christianity interfaces with society, and just discuss some of those circles. I mean, as an example, we've got some expressions of interest from atheists, and when you sit down and talk to these guys about their situation and how they perceive life and why they're there, they have a circular position, a sort of theological position with no God in it, and very much you can say that the Christian one is a circular position but with God in it, and actually the two circles, almost like a Venn diagram almost, are very similar, but there's just an area of overlap, and the area of overlap where they don't actually meet is the leap of faith. And so I think by demonstrating that, it shows not only that we can listen to people in society, that we don't have to be lecturing them about their positions. We don't have to say, well, you're wrong, we're right, because we're comfortable where we are. But we can live with them, and we can be in a community with them. And that goes for people in the Muslim community, people who are Hindu, other faiths, people of different sexual orientation, and really just show that expression of Christian love to the UK community.
Okay, so you said you're leaving on Ascension Day. How long do you anticipate this voyage taking, and is the commitment for the whole duration?
So Howard and my commitment is for the whole duration, and in terms of the basic voyage, we're funding that ourselves. We are opening it up to anybody in the UK who wants to apply. irrespective of age. The only thing that would be a difficulty is if somebody's quite disabled, the boat isn't able to take somebody who's disabled, and I think people have to understand that for safety reasons we wouldn't be able to take somebody in a wheelchair, that sort of thing. You need special setup for that. But we would try and include as many people who would like to get involved as possible. And you don't have to be on the boat. You can join the discussions. We're going to try, and we've got some interest from mainstream radio, and which was, hopefully will evolve. Where we've been offered some studio space where we could pretend it's on the boat, for radio broadcasting. And we need an awful lot of prayer. We've got a lot of Anglican dioceses starting to invite us. I think there's about 30 that have expressed interest so far, and about 13 of those have actually given us a clear invitation. But we need prayer. We need some Catholics to start inviting us. We need people from the Methodist, sides of Christianity, Baptist, you name it. If you're in this country and you'd like to be involved, then we'd like to talk to you. And we'd like to meet people who can help us, because obviously we've got the money for the boat, but we're not web experts. If you go and look at the website, which is navigatorsoffaith.com, I've done it. It's the best I can do. It's starting to get to a point where we need somebody who knows what they're doing with the website, and with video and all that sort of stuff as well.
Sure. And the voyage, for the whole voyage that you'll be taking, is how long?
The actual length of the voyage is approximately 2 months and a bit. So it takes us into early July. I can't remember off the top of my head the exact date we've got set down. And at the moment the schedule would vary a little bit, because we're not sure where we're getting invites for around the coast. But as an example, the diocese, the Bishop of Lichfield, has invited us to meet him on Barnsley Island. It's the island of 20,000 saints. Now Lichfield's landlocked, but they go there for a pilgrimage each year. And so he said, it's a wonderful idea, let's get out there, let's look at this monastic side of life. And interestingly enough, this has been evolving with us prayerfully and in a spiritual way over the last couple of years. But then being at New Wine this week, and some of the themes that have come up in all of the mainstream lectures, and John Mark, talking about the way we develop within Christ, that goes back to those monastic roots. So, is that the spirit? I think it is.
Okay. So do you actually go all the way around the UK? Or?
Yeah, we're going to go all the way around the UK, right. Including through the Western Isles. There's a little bit of humour here, because my wife's pointed out that we've got a liking for possibly trying to find a Saint in Jura, in Talisker or Iona. But we're going to head for Shetland, head up to Shetland, and then come back down the other side, go to Holy Island, back down around Cornwall, probably head out to the Isles of Scilly, and then back up the coast. And also bring up some of these stories. Some of them are fascinating stories about how brave these men were, and they're putting their lives on the line. If you look at St Brendan, there's a very, very good chance that St Brendan discovered America, and the tales that are there. This guy's sailing out, and they're describing icebergs, and we would know them as icebergs. They don't know them as icebergs, and so the myth that's there is describing Iceland and that voyage. They did that in a 23-foot boat covered in leather.
You've got a bit more health and safety, I guess, than they had probably back in the 6th and 7th centuries. What would be the cost? Final question. What would be the cost to somebody if they want to join for some or part of the journey? We're talking from 200, 300, 500 pounds.
It depends. I think from memory, it's on the website. It's something like £34 a day. If somebody can't afford to go but would like to go, let's take somebody that they've come from a sink estate somewhere else. There's a guy I met who's from Liverpool, and somebody from there might not be able to afford to go. Then we'll try and find some way of helping. And we've got some offers of sponsorship, so obviously if we can divert some funds. But people can come for a day, they can come for a weekend, a week, and they just need to come through and put their names down.
And they go to the website to get that information is where they need to go?
Yeah, website, and there's a lovely lady called Sheila who's very kindly offered her time to act as a sort of hub and organise these two mad guys and what they're doing.
Okay. Vicky, would you like to pray for Andrew and this venture of Navigators of Faith as they travel around the country next year?
Father, I just thank you for the vision and the aim and the spirituality behind the Navigators of Faith venture, I would like to call it. And so, Father, I pray that you will bless the work they do, that the times when they come together for discussions and sharing of faiths and opinions and all that will be times when your Spirit will move in power and just open people's minds and hearts to the reality of the Creator God, which is you. And Father, as they take their travels, I pray that each of them personally involved and heading this up, that there will be a fresh encounter with you as well, because it's what all our hearts long and desire for. We ask all this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
No, I really appreciate it. That's very kind.
Well,
That's,
thanks